This week on Hitting the Field, we'll be talking about something new. Stick with us while we talk about the UCF football team as the team expands its undefeated streak to 19 games and continues to blow our mind. Also, for a first this season, we'll be talking about hockey and, of course, basketball. All this and more right here on Hitting the Field.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of Hitting the Field. I'm your host, Jessica Herman, and joining me on the set is Hitting the Field veteran Andre Rodriguez to go over the action around UCF. Let's get right into the crazy events that took place in Memphis over the weekend. The 10th-ranked Knights almost gave fans, including myself, a heart attack after trailing by as much as 16 in the first half. They managed to come back in the second half, led by Mackenzie Milton, and as an improved defense to a 1-point win. Andre, what were the key things that led the Knights to come back, and how impressed should we be with this?
Well, first things first, defense. I mean, they weren't playing any type of defense in the first half. Darrell Henderson had 199 yards, and in the second half, he only had 27 of those yards. So they definitely found a way to stop him. Overall, I mean, the offense still looked shaky. It was a sloppy game between both teams. It was. But, I mean, sloppy games can sometimes be good games because it was, you know, the fans, even I was sitting there wondering who was going to be the one to finally score in the second half because after the first half, I really thought Memphis had it. Randy Shannon, his defense looked super undisciplined with all the penalties, and we just couldn't get a stop. And then, not to mention, Milton just couldn't get going. But then in the second half, they finally started playing defense.
It looked like a new team.
Yeah, it was totally new team. I think it was some of the best defense I've seen all year from the Knights. And then Heupel, you know, we couldn't get anything going on offense, and he took some risks. He had to go deep into the playbook and think of some things, and he took some risks, but it paid off. Like on 4th and 1, you know, that Taj McGowan 71-yard run, you know, backs against the wall. That was really brave of Heupel to go for it, but he did what Memphis wasn't expecting, and I think that's why we were able to come up with the win because they weren't ready for us in the second half.
Memphis probably thought they had this game in the bag. They most definitely thought they did. It's almost, wasn't it last year we went into like double overtime or overtime with them?
Yes.
So I'm sure that was scary after the first half. They're like, what is going on here?
Yeah, for sure.
Good win by us. From football to football, the women's soccer team has gotten off to a hot start since conference. Sorry, we tried to slip up. Play has started going 5-1 and having outscored conference opponents 15-8. Andre, how impressed are you of this team? And talk about the potential this team has moving forward.
I'm really impressed with this team. I mean, they don't look as good as they were last year, but I think they look good enough that they're definitely going to make a postseason run. They're on a 3-game win streak after beating Tulsa last night, and as long as this team has sophomore Stephanie Sanders on their team, I think they could beat anybody. She plays with the German national team. She leads the team in goals, 11 goals.
That's insane.
She's scored three games in a row. She's scored a goal so far, and she does a lot of it on her own. You know, a lot of her goals are unassisted. So I think as long as she's on their roster, they can compete with anybody, and they're sure to make a postseason run.
Would you say she's the face of the team right now?
Right now, and it's pretty impressive for you know, she's only a sophomore, and you know, she came out of nowhere. And she's also making plays. She's you know, setting up teammates as well. And I think they also have an easy road ahead. I mean, leading up to the Warren I-4, which they'll finish off the season at USF.
We always get excited when that happens.
Yeah, for sure. They got 2 winnable games, which I think they will win against SMU and Houston, and then they'll set up you know, last game of the season against USF, who's been spectacular this year. They only have 2 losses. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So we'll keep posted on that one. Moving on to the men's side of soccer. After getting off to one of the best starts in program history, the team's last game against UConn ended in a 0-0 tie. What are some things that you saw in the game, Andre, and how that can be improved for their next matchup against Florida Gulf Coast tomorrow night?
Well, I think there's nothing really to improve on. Even the coach said it after the game against UConn. It was probably one of the best games, if not the best game they played all season. It was a game of defense, and they were playing a formidable opponent. It's not like they played a bad team or something. And, you know, you should be slapping yourself like, oh my gosh, you know, we should have done better. They were playing the 20th ranked team in the country, UConn, And even the coach, like I said, he said they played great, and their offense has been explosive all season, and they looked explosive against UConn. Except it just so happened, they had 19 shots, and none of them went in. They had wide open opportunities.
It was the game of the goalies.
Yes, two shots that were wide open. One of the players for UCF, he skied it, but they had 19 shots to UConn's 11. They had 9 corner kicks to UConn's 0. So the opportunities were there. So I don't think they're going to have multiple games like this where they have 20-something shots and you don't get a goal.
It's a heck of a game.
That's unlucky.
It's games you want to go to.
It's not going to happen again where they get held scoreless. So
I'm glad to see we're doing well with that. Well, that's it for UCF. But when we return from commercial break, I'll be joined by Jeremy Brenner and Heath Gately, who makes his HTF debut, as we'll get into some hockey. Stay with us. We can't wait.
Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today. Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
Welcome back, and now for a first this season on Hitting the Field. We'll be talking some hockey. I'm joined by Jeremy Brenner and Heath Gately. Fresh meat on air, are you ready?
That is an absolutely terrible line. That sounds like it's right out of a 90s movie.
Sounds like he's ready. Let's get right into it. Last season, the Vegas Golden Knights shook everyone with their amazing Stanley Cup run, making it all the way to the finals, but eventually lost against Ovechkin and the rest of the Washington Capitals. Plain and simple, do we see the Golden Knights making it to the playoffs this season? Jeremy?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, look, it's so early in the season already. They aren't performing as well as their pace was last year. I think they just set their bar so high last year that everyone's expecting them to, come back, run it back, go back to the Stanley Cup. But look, there's some growing pains, and that's common in the NHL. That's like
I'm waiting for a
right?
sophomore slump by them.
A sophomore slump, yeah. I mean,
I guess that's just my take
but
on
that doesn't,
it.
the sophomore slump doesn't have to be the whole season.
No, of course not.
So I think it's just a little slip up here. They've played a really tough schedule to start. They've already had to
Most
play
definitely,
Washington.
yes.
They've played Philly twice, I believe. They've Pittsburgh. So they've had a tough schedule to start out. Their schedule's going to get easier. They're going to get to play some of the lesser teams in the West and then in the East as well. So I think the panic button should not be hit just yet.
Just yet.
No, not yet.
Well, I'm going to give my scorching hot take after a sample size of 6 games. But it is kind of concerning if you say, well, we can't beat good teams. Like, you can't play the Edmonton Oilers or the Canucks every single night. Or, I'm sorry, even your Panthers every single day. Like,
thanks, man.
If they did have a tough road schedule, but they've lost big contributors like Neal to Calgary. They lost Perrin to St. Louis. And they did get Stastny. So they have some lineup changes. So they kind of have to develop some new chemistry with their team. But like I said before, it is concerning that after 6 games, they've already lost to all the good teams.
Like I said, a sophomore slump is a real thing, though.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be when you're confident enough to trade away your draft picks, because Vegas got set up in the original expansion draft.
Yes.
But then this offseason, they kind of went all in on win now mode. But it doesn't really work if you're trying to set yourself up for the future. But then in your second season, you're already failing.
Yeah, and you've already gotten rid of people. I get what you're saying, but before I get offended, I'm just going to say on to our next question. Austin Matthews or Sidney Crosby? Who's going to end the season with more points? Matthews already starting off hot with 14, and Sidney Crosby has a slow 4. Some say you can't compare the two, but I guess I can beg to differ. Heath, let me start off with you with this one.
I'm going to say Austin Matthews is going to have more points this season. Toronto is playing at a blistering pace right now.
They really are.
They're scoring like 6-7 goals a game. Their power play is converting at a ridiculous rate. It's a little bit under 50%.
They got Jonathan Tavares now, 2 best centers in the league.
And they're missing Nylander, who's one of their gives them some wing depth because he's got that weird contract situation going on.
That's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. Big defender.
Yeah, they might trade for a defender because really the only thing they have right now is Morgan Riley, who's playing out of his mind.
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
he really is. He's already broke a record, I believe.
Yeah, he already has 10 points across the first couple games. So Crosby isn't as needed anymore on the Penguins. Like obviously he's still an important piece of the team, but they're just playing at a slower pace. He's getting older, and I think Malkin's probably going to have more points than him this season.
Honestly, that's not that bad of a comment that I've ever heard, so I may give you that one. What about you, Jared?
We're seeing the new era of the young guns coming into. I think we're on a new dawn of a new era of hockey right now. Austin Matthews is the face of that. He's 21 years old. He had 69 points his first season, 63 last season, but in 20 less games. So this season, I think he breaks that 100-point barrier. He might even lead the league in points this season, I think. I think he's got a real shot at it. And Toronto, he's leading them in points right now. I think that he might even be the MVP.
He's unbelievable. Austin, he's a force to be reckoned with. The way he is on the puck, he's got one of the quickest releases I've ever seen in the league, and he's just a fun creature to watch out there. But also, there was a few trades made over the offseason. We saw Jonathan Tavares head home to the Maple Leafs while Vegas sent off James Neal to Calgary. I want to know what you guys think about these trades, any trades or free agent agreements that stuck out to you. Jeremy, let me start with you.
Jonathan Tavares chose to go home.
Yes, he did.
He wanted to go home. He wanted to join Austin Matthews. Toronto is starting to establish themselves now. They've made the playoffs. They've made the playoffs. They've made the first round, but they haven't been able to get past that point. They need to get over the hurdle, just like Washington did last year.
I think that may happen this year, though. This team compared to where they were 5 years ago is absolutely insane.
Every team has to go through growing pains. It's kind of the formula in how you win in the NHL now. I mean, Vegas is an exception, but you can even count that they're going through the growing pains now. Even they went all the way to the finals, and they took the L in the finals. And now you got Toronto. They've made the first round every year. But looking now, watch out for Toronto, man.
I was going to say, if this is growing pains, I don't have a problem with growing pains whatsoever.
Not at all.
At all.
I agree that Tavares is probably one of the biggest acquisitions in the offseason because it gives also more experience and a veteran presence to a younger Toronto team. So they don't choke their way out of the first round again. But a couple of things I want to bring up is Kucherov re-signed to the Lightning for 8 years.
Did.
I thought was absolutely massive because yet again,
he's insane.
Eisman pulled off his last heist because after that he said, I'm out of here. But he pulled off his last good deal, locking him up long term. I think Fleury re-signing for Vegas was big because he was pretty much their sole reason for their insane playoff run.
Right, yeah, no, he did play his head off.
It is a bit concerning because he's already kind of old and they've kind of got him locked up for a couple of years, but
age is but a number.
I was just about to say.
It's the NHL. Weird things have happened. Dave Andreychuk was 43 when he retired.
You got Jágr, yeah.
Yeah, Jágr was 48.
84 years old now.
Exactly.
Also, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Kovalchuk coming back. 5 years in Russia, and he just decided
nobody saw it coming.
Why not?
No.
He's back with the Kings, and he's killing it.
And he was a sought-after free agent, too.
Yes, he was.
Which is kind of odd for a guy who's only played internationally for the last couple of years.
He was the talk of the town because everyone wanted him, but it was do we really want him? And it was yeah, we do.
I think they just want him to sell tickets.
Possibly. It's not a bad decision.
Yeah.
All right, Canada is the melting pot for hockey. Let's make this a fun one. Who's going to be the bigger dumpster find, Ottawa or Edmonton? Remember, this isn't a trick question, but maybe almost a hot take. Heath, what do you got for me?
I'm saying Edmonton is the bigger dumpster fire. They got invaded. They have one of the best young players in the league, and they're still bad. When you're trying to be good and you're losing games, it's not a very positive thing. Ottawa is aggressively trying to tank, yet they're accidentally winning all these games. I mean, it's 2 wins, but it's 2 wins and overtime loss. But Edmonton thinks they're going to be a big playoff run, and they're already in the hole. They've made it out of the playoffs once in the last couple of years, and they've been in perpetual rebuild mode. So it's not good when you think you finally have the roster that's going to put it all together.
And nothing happens.
Yeah, and you're still trash.
Yeah.
Still trash.
I think I'm going to disagree.
Go for it.
I'm going to go for Ottawa. I just think that, like, come on, man.
I'm sorry.
Ottawa?
I think Ottawa's going to be worse than Edmonton.
Yeah.
Because how do you become the worst when you got Connor McDavid?
Exactly. Connor McDavid is in that same group as Austin Matthews, as those young guys that are coming on up. They were both former #1 picks. I think that, you know, they're both 21 this year. I think McDavid turns 22 in January. This is their time. This is their time to shine. And Ottawa doesn't have that guy yet. But they're trying to tank so that they can get that guy.
Ottawa doesn't have, like, any guys.
Well, they got rid of Carlson. They literally, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I wish them the best of luck. And I guess we'll see what happens with that. So, with this season only a couple weeks in, it's hard to say who is going to be successful or who is going to be absolutely terrible. But I'm curious to know, what team do you think will be the biggest sleeper shocking everyone this season? We got to go kind of quick, guys. I'm sorry. Remember about Vegas last year, or we can even say the Caps, considering they were always the team you expected to choke. Jeremy.
I think Chicago. I'm actually really excited about Chicago. Chicago missed the playoffs last year, but they still have that veteran core, and they're playing very well to start out the game.
They're playing well
I think, honestly, if it keeps up, Toronto, Chicago in the Stanley Cup, that's my early hot take.
That's a bold take. That's bold.
That is scorching. Like, I'm going to have to leave the set because I'm on fire right now.
Goodbye.
I'm sorry. You need some fire department? We call them 911?
My early season take right now is probably the Hurricanes.
I have to agree.
No one really expected them to be this good so quickly. Aho's been playing out of his mind right now. They've been playing at a really good pace, and like even off a back-to-back, they used their backups against the Jets, and they still managed to get a really close game until
the other
end.
game. Yeah, and it was 3-1, and the last one was a open net. They had both backups in net, and then nobody scored till the third period.
That's a good performance for a young team off a back-to-back.
And you got Jordan Stahl. He's getting back into the groove of things again. That's a great team to watch.
Hurricane Florence is no longer the most powerful hurricane in Carolina.
Look how punny you
I know,
are.
right? Yeah, he wanted it. He likes it.
I really didn't.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Before we start a huge fire, well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Stick with us when we come back to be prepared to talk some NBA. You boys are insane with your hockey talk.
Do you like sports? Do you like reading about sports? Then we got a sports blog just for you. Stay on my peripherals. That's not fun. Hitting the field.
The first student-run sports blog.
For sports fans.
By sports fans.
See, it's all about the product shot.
Where do you want me to stand?
Don't talk though. I want them to see the hole.
Hitting the field. We cover football. We cover basketball. And so much more.
He's out. By sports reporters and Meech.
What up? Watch the show and read the sports blog. Hitting
the field.
Welcome back to Hitting the Field. With the NBA season beginning tomorrow, Jeremy and Heath are back with me to preview the upcoming season. Gentlemen, let's begin. The biggest storyline heading into the season has to be LeBron taking his talents to Southern California to play for the LA Lakers. But LeBron's team have a history of struggling out of the gate. So I heard a joke over the weekend I would like to share real quick. After multiple celebrity homes were robbed in Southern California, LeBron has added 10 armed guards to protect his mansion in Los Angeles, which makes this the first time since arriving in LA that LeBron has guards who can actually shoot. With that being said, Jeremy, how will the Lakers truly perform this season?
That was some shade to J.R. Smith.
I thought that was hilarious.
And Kyle Korver, that's some real shade right there. All I'm saying is this. Look, LeBron is going to find out what the Western Conference is actually like. It's going to happen real quick. He's going to play a lot of those Western Conference opponents early, and he's going to have to play the Warriors 4 times a year. He's going to find out what how it feels to really play in the West.
You really feel that way?
He's been in the East his whole career, so he's been, they've been the lesser conference ever since he's been in the NBA. The Western Conference has, consistently been putting up better numbers, and especially last season when you had two, almost 60-win teams. And,
right.
The Rockets had 65, the Warriors had a little under 60, but the West is just so much more competition, and he'll find that out early. But the season's long. Let's keep in mind, this is 82 games in a season. I think that LeBron is going to struggle out the gate. I think that they could end up somewhere mid-season about, like 19 and
we also have to remember it's a new team.
It is, and they're going to go through some growing pains. Just
that starting lineup is completely different.
I think it's just as good. It's not better. It's no better than what he had in Cleveland last year. So I think LeBron is going to struggle out the gate, just like they did last season in Cleveland. And I think that, I think they'll be in the playoffs, probably as a 6 through 8 seed.
So
That's
some
my
growing
opinion.
pains is what
Growing
Jeremy
pains,
would
yeah.
say. Heath, what do you got for me?
I think LeBron's going to play against the Warriors twice in the regular season. He's going to be like, Pat Riley, please take me back to South Beach. He's going to be absolutely done with the Western Conference. He's going to have LeVar screaming at him at the sidelines. He's going to have JaVale shacked into fooling like 5 times a game. And he's going to realize, what did I do to myself? He's going to be paying those huge taxes.
Do you think they'll be friends?
No.
Absolutely
I can't wait
not.
till he makes a cameo on Ball in the Family.
I'm not really.
Wow, Facebook, here we
Yeah.
come.
I think that shouldn't happen. Like LeBron should see he's getting filmed for that and just walk away immediately. But
You'd rather be at a Drake concert anyways, let's be real.
Yeah.
Drake wouldn't even want to be at a Drake concert. Drake's the biggest bandwagoner ever. He'll be on the Lakers sidelines in like 10 games.
Why haven't we got you on air sooner? This is amazing.
So Drake will probably be on the Lakers sideline, draped up with his Conor McGregor Irish flag and his Raptors jersey on.
What
Another
about when
losing team.
LeBron goes to Toronto and it's LeBronto again? And then how does Drake choose there? Like,
I
I'm
don't think he
confused.
knows what to do.
I don't
he
think
just
you
like
choose.
quits sports in general.
Yeah. He'll wear one of those like fake like house divided shirts. We'll have half Lakers,
Drake
half
probably
Raptors.
needs his
That's what
ghostwriters
he'll
to
do.
tell him what teams to support.
Yeah,
Probably
no.
got to call up Quentin Miller on the phone. He's like, what do I do?
Anyways, it looks like the Warriors have it all locked up in the West, but with LeBron now in LA, the East is up for grabs. Heath, where will the East run through the season?
Unfortunately, the East is going to run through Boston. And I say unfortunately because Boston sports fans are just super obnoxious. Like,
They're insane.
They'll let you know that they're good. They can't win humbly ever.
Well,
But
not with baseball, you know.
they have a deep team. Gordon Hayward's coming back. They already made the Eastern Conference Finals without Kyrie, and they didn't have
Valid
Gordon
point.
Hayward all season.
Valid point.
So I don't really think they're going to see much opposition. Toronto's not really a threat. And once you get past Toronto in the East, it's such a huge drop-off in talent. Like, I'd say Indiana's probably in the mix there, maybe Milwaukee. But that's the thing. You go from Indiana to Toronto, and then from Toronto to Boston. I think those are all
Yeah.
just huge gaps in talent between those teams.
Yeah, that's where the whole debate comes in about the NBA being rigged.
I wouldn't say rigged. It's just the way the NBA is. If you don't have talent for a consistent game, like in the NHL, you can score a goal in the last moments of the game and tie up. The NBA is like a constant grind the entire game. So if your team's not as good, you're just not going to be able to compete nearly as much as other leagues. There's just not as much parity.
No, I get what you're saying. There'll be a huge gap, and then it's like, where did the game go?
Yeah, no, this is still Boston's conference, I think, but Toronto's not that far off. I really don't think they are. They have the depth to match Boston. I think they still will have the best bench in the NBA this season. So yeah, I actually think that Toronto and Boston could go 6 or 7. I have Boston because I think that if they stay healthy, they're going to be I think if they're healthy, they are the best team in the East. But knowing Boston, they're not going to stay healthy.
But like Toronto's not as deep as Boston, Jeremy. Come on.
But they can compete with them, is what I'm saying.
They can.
I'm not saying they're better. They can compete.
They can get
How do you feel about that?
beaten 6 games in the conference finals, and they can get sent packing. Like Gordon Hayward's coming back to a team that took the Cavs to 7 games. Kyrie Irving's going to actually play in the playoffs. They're going to absolutely smoke.
Do we know
Toronto.
that though?
We don't know how
But do
Kawhi
we
looks.
know that?
We do not know how Kawhi looks.
Are you a doctor?
Kyle
Are you
Lowry
a
is the
witch
biggest
doctor? Can you
choker of
predict
all
the future?
time.
I think you're hurting his feelings.
I think his feelings were already hurt.
I think you got a point. I'll give you that. Anyways, now on Hitting the Field, we are going to do something new and steal TNT coverage of the NBA Awards show and host it right here, right now, 8 months in advance. Heath, give me your 3 nominees for Rookie of the Year and your winner.
All right, so my 3 nominees are number 3 is going to be Trae Young because he's going to put up a bunch of empty stats. Luka Doncic is going to be number 2 because I think he's going to help the Mavs pretty significantly. And Ayton's going to be my pick for Rookie of the Year because he's going to be exactly what the Suns needed, which is somebody else other than Devin Booker that can actually like score. They have a bunch of mediocre NBA talents, but they finally drafted a big man that can actually play basketball, unlike Dragon Bender or Marcus Chris.
I think Doncic is the favorite, and he's my Rookie of the Year. I think Trae Young will have the best opportunity to win it, but I don't think he's the best player in this class.
No,
I think Doncic, and then Young, and then we'll give it Ayton will be number 3.
Do you have a comment on it?
I don't think Doncic has the best chance to win it. I don't think the Mavs are going to play in a system where he's just going to explode for his flashiest stats. Because Rookie of the Year is kind of a pointless stat. It's like who has the most points. That's all it really is. Last year,
Yeah, but
last
Donovan
year's a little
Mitchell
different.
didn't have the most. Donovan Mitchell had the most points per game last year.
Yeah, but Ben
But
Simmons
won.
also trumped him in like rebounds and assists, and his
So
team
it's
was
not
better.
it's not points per game. All points per game.
It's just
all
stats in general,
around.
though. Like, it doesn't matter if you're actually the best rookie. It just matters who has the flashiest stats.
no comment because I know exactly where this is going to end up. The next category is Most Improved Player. Jeremy, name your 3 nominees and your winner.
I mean, I'll just say my winner because we got like very little time. But give me Devin Booker. Give me Devin Booker.
I'm gonna say Markelle Fultz. He's gonna improve a lot.
All right, our final category of the evening is the highest honor of all, the Most Valuable Player Award. Heath, I'll let you take this one. Who's your MVP?
It's going to be James Harden. He's going to have to carry the Rockets, and he's going to have the best stats. Yeah, nobody else really is a standout for me this year for MVP other than Harden.
James Harden definitely has the best chance to win it, and why not?
Do you agree with him on that then?
Absolutely.
So that's going to be your MVP as well?
We finally agree on something, yeah.
Okay, I'll take it. Well, we would like to introduce a new segment to our show called Don't At Me, where panelists drop their hottest take in order to set the studio ablaze. Gentlemen, please don't actually light a fire in here, but give me the hottest take you've got. I guess we'll do that when we come back. Does that sound good, boys?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, I'm excited to do it. Hottest take? No fights, though. Jeremy, I'm going to let you go first when we get there. Heath, I'm going to let you go next, and then you can start a blaze when we get there.
All right, it's fine, man.
Don't at me, but give me your hottest take, Jeremy.
I mean, I think the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz will both be in the top 4 this season. I think that the Northwest Division has a much more improved basketball over there, and I really like what Utah and Denver got to bring this season. I think it's going to be Utah and Denver in the top 4.
My hottest take right now is that Jimmy Butler, it was a good idea to not trade for Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has not proven that he's worth blowing up your whole franchise for, and also Jimmy Butler has shown that he's kind of a bit of a locker room cancer. He has a problem with almost every single player he plays with.
Gotcha. Well, those were some pretty good hot takes. I was very excited to hear what we had to talk about, especially hockey, but for this week's Night Vision, I'm going to mention a few random things on my mind. Over the weekend, I was scrolling through social media. I saw a comment from a random sports reporter. It said 32 JUCO players playing in the MLB playoffs. I know that's common, but parents forget that you don't need to play D1 to get noticed. That stuck with me. I feel like just so much is going on. Remember, it's about having fun. And to any of the athletes out there who watch our show, remember, you don't have to make it D1 to make it. Keep pushing on. Greatness doesn't happen overnight. Just remember the #1 draft pick, Baker Mayfield, also did what he did and was the #1 draft and all that fun stuff. Also, let me use this Night Vision to do a little rant. How did UCF not move up at all in the AP poll? I'm going to end it with that. Please stick with us on Instagram, Twitter, and all that fun stuff, and keep up with us next week. Thank you so much, and have a good day, everyone.